Afternoon, Robert Scribbler here with the OBX Wave Report, and thank you for joining me. I am your reporter on all things waves, weather, climate, and the beaches. And for today, for our preamble, we're going to get a little nerdy financial and talk about investment. And right now, there is a big push by climate activists to help investors have more options for investing in clean energy and to also target the money pipeline to fossil fuel burning, which, among other things, threatens to drown the Outer Banks in sea level rise and swamp them in giant hurricanes. For lack of a more pithy statement, but so today we've got Bill McKibben highlighting that big banks are under scrutiny, scrutiny. I don't even know if that's a word, under scrutiny for their big fossil fuel lending, referencing Comptroller Brad Lander of New York City says that he's watching today as shareholders vote on the resolutions demanding that Citi, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America set stronger climate targets and stop financing fossil fuels. So it's the shareholders in many respects that are driving these efforts. Shareholders, just like the rest of us, stand under the gun from climate crisis. And yet there's a big pushback by harmful industry, by the fossil fuel industry, and by the GOP by extension, which the fossil fuel industry funds in politics and lobbies in politics. Comptroller Brad Lander notes that not meeting commitments to halting the financing of fossil fuels puts our planet and our financial system at huge risk because climate change is big and damaging. It produces big and damaging storms, big and damaging sea level rise, big and damaging droughts, um, big and damaging food crisis, lots of big and damaging things coming from climate change, and anything that's big and damaging threatens finance. You can't have a stable financial system if you don't have a stable climate system. Um, our wealth, our well-being arises from a kind and living earth, and that's you can't separate those two. If your climate system's going after you with a vengeance, you're not really going to have that much. So, in any case, shareholders are starting to learn this the hard way as storms ramp up and as seas start to rise and start to threaten investments around the world. As a result of this threat and of generally an awareness in the need for business to become more forward looking and plan for the future more and have a positive impact, there's a new funding system called ESG, which stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance Investing. And this is investing that acts on climate, protects the environment, investment that is aimed at reducing or halting pollution, investment that's aimed at social justice, social fairness, and generally at supporting democracies. It's a smart investment for the long term, for the future, and for stable systems generally. Of course, whenever there's a good thing, there happens to be a negative GOP reaction. And lately, the GOP has gone on a tear, funded by fossil fuel interests notably, to block ESG type funding, basically to tell their constituents, no, you can't have ESG, you can only invest in fossil fuels. And um, the so-called Party of Freedom, once again, hearkening to an authoritarian bent when truths are not convenient or palatable for their funders in the fossil fuel industry, which have a long history of generating authoritarian systems globally. Many petrostates are also dictatorial states, tyrannical states in the case of Putin's Russia. Putin, right now, basically dictator of Russia, Putin's Russia, engaged in a genocidal war criminal invasion of Ukraine at the moment, and all profiting from the burning of fossil fuels that harm all of us. So the GOP, again, siding with authoritarianism as it attacks ESG funding and tries to change laws so that people don't have that option. So, and in the news right now, GOP state leaders are targeting climate investing. And these same leaders who are GOP state leaders who are targeting climate investing apparently have stakes in the fossil fuel industry. So, just to note from this article in CNBC, handful of state financial officers in red states have criticized environmental, social, and governance investing. These individuals own stakes in the fossil fuel industry according to their financial disclosures. Oops. So yeah, big conflict of interest with the GOP these days as it goes on a authoritarian tear against clean investments aimed at responding to the climate crisis, and doing it in a smart way, doing it in a market-driven fashion. Um, and so, yeah, once again, GOP doubling down on not being helpful at all. Okay, so that concludes my preamble for the OBX wave report. Why am I talking about this? Well, just like the rest of you who live in the Outer Banks or who live on the coastline, I've got a stake in this too. I don't want to see the Outer Banks drown, and apparently the GOP in their attacks on ESG would prefer to see beautiful places like the OBX, inundated with sea level rise and more severe storms for their own personal short-term, short-sighted, nearsighted, not really paying attention to what will happen in the future investments. All right, so let's get into the OBX wave report today. And right now we're seeing some beautiful skies out here in the Outer Banks. We've got thin wisps of cirrus clouds riding high in the air, but blue skies plainly piercing the cirrus, and gorgeous waves, gorgeous blue-green waves down at the coastline in the range of 2 to 4 feet, much more powerful than we have seen recently as we have this northeast wind blowing in off the Atlantic, off the backside of a frontal system. And we've got generally disturbed weather across the U.S. Southeast and in the near Atlantic environment. Over the coming 1 to 10 days, it looks really stormy out there. We're expected to see a trough move in to the eastern region of the U.S., provide some instability in the form of colder air thrusting down over the Great Lakes and the Mississippi River Valley region. And this is going to slam into warm, moist air over the Gulf of Mexico and over the North Atlantic, with ocean water temperatures being much warmer than normal, providing an excess abundance of moisture to help fuel storms. So we're looking at a storm trend for the next 10 days. This means bigger waves for the Outer Banks, stormier conditions, cooler conditions. Kind of exciting, but yeah, please be careful out there, those of you who do go surfing, because it's going to get kind of riley out there, kind of rowdy. All right, looking at the infrared satellite shot, we see the area of disturbed weather, an area of disturbed weather slipping down over the Rockies, some storms firing up over Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska, and another area of disturbed weather moving toward the Appalachians from Tennessee and Kentucky. And then offshore, off the Outer Banks, we've got that stalled frontal boundary creating some showers and thunderstorms. In the tropics, we got those thunderstorms firing up, and over the Amazon, thunderstorms as well. Pacific Northwest getting a little stream of moisture, but storms lurking off the coast, warded off for now by a high pressure system. Looking at the National Weather Service radar, we can see those storms firing through the central U.S. and through parts of the Northeast and off the East Coast. Nothing too crazy as far as weather, although we do have some fire weather hazards for New Mexico and Arizona. Some strong winds on the U.S. West Coast, but nothing too crazy today at this point. Actually, you know what? I didn't pull up the map for the convective analysis, so I'm curious about that. We're going to have to check the convective analysis for today as well. All right, getting into the wave report for today for our local observations right now at Jeanette's Pier. Actually, Jeanette's Pier is one of the two big wave spots for the Outer Banks with 3 to 4 foot waves right now. With a primary swell coming in at 12 seconds, that is a 3 foot swell out of the east northeast. I was just down at Jeanette's Pier, and the wave height monitor there said 3.74 feet. So solid near 4 footers there at Jeanette's Pier. Secondary swell coming in at 7 seconds. That's a 1.1 foot swell out of the southeast. Winds right now out of the northeast. That is an onshore flow at 14 miles per hour, so pretty brisk there. Air temperatures in the range of about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Ocean water temperatures also 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Weather conditions today, sunny, high near 60, northeast winds 10 miles per hour with gusts up to 20. Heading on south down to Rodanthe, we pass S-turns where waves are 2 feet, and we get to Rodanthe where the waves are also in the range of about 2 to 3 feet, with a primary swell coming in out of the east-northeast at 12 seconds. That is a 1.5 foot swell. The secondary swell coming in at 5 seconds, also out of the east-northeast at 2.5 feet. Winds out of the northeast at 16 miles per hour. That is an onshore flow. Air temperatures right now 65 degrees at Rodanthe. Ocean water temperatures warming all the way up to 66, getting pretty warm down there at Rodanthe. There's warm waters spreading toward the north, so looking a lot better. Weather conditions sunny. Expected high today in the mid 60s and northeast winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Heading on down south to Avon, we've got waves in the range of 2 to 4 feet. And then to Buxton, we find that the wave heights are in the range of 3 to 4 feet, with a primary swell coming in at 12 seconds out of the east-northeast at 2.5 feet. Secondary swell coming in at 5 seconds out of the northeast. That is a 3.5 foot swell. Winds out of the northeast at 16 miles per hour, also an onshore flow there. Air temperatures 64 degrees, ocean water temperatures 69 degrees Fahrenheit. Still warm. I'm waiting to get a 70-degree water temperature down there, but it's getting warmer. I was out there surfing at Frisco in my full suit. I was pretty hot on Sunday, so very warm down there. Don't need any booties or gloves, or didn't need any when I went surfing at Frisco on Sunday. Um, Sunny, high in the mid 60s, northeast winds 10 to 15 miles per hour at Buxton. And then slipping on over to Billy Mitchell, we got a spot observation of 2 foot waves at the Billy Mitchell Airport. Okay, looking at our climate and longer range weather patterns. Right now, climate conditions are as expected, warmer than normal global system with a 0.34 degrees Celsius above normal reading for the day. This compared to the 1981 2010 reference period, um, which is already a warmer than normal reference period. The Arctic hitting about 0.62 degrees Celsius above normal. That's cooler than recent days, but still considerably above normal. Tropics about 0.313 degrees Celsius above normal. We expect to see a warming tropics as El Nino starts to kick into gear off of the west coast of South America. And then the Arctic at 0.221 degrees Celsius above normal. Once again, above normal temperatures for all major climate zones. Um, we don't typically see below normal temperatures anywhere anymore. And then, of course, when we compare this to the 1981 to 2010 reference period, we're also comparing to a warmer than normal marker in any case. So um, the markers are pretty far out into the extreme when it comes to warming right now. Global surface temperatures for most years lately in the range of 1.2 to 1.3 degrees Celsius above 1880 to 1920 reference period, which is just nuts. In any case, looking at the 6 to 10-day temperature outlook, we see a very powerful dipole type anomaly situation for the United States. Much warmer than normal predicted temperatures for the US West, much cooler than normal predicted temperatures for the Mississippi River Valley and parts of the US East. And this dipole just speaks to me of storminess. We get this big trough here in the east. It's going to slam into that warmer than normal ocean and Gulf of Mexico, with those cold airs coming in from the north, those warm airs to the south. And in that battleground, you'll tend to get some powerful storms. And that's what it appears that we're looking at in the weather model forecasts over the next 10 days. For the US West, with those above normal temperatures, likely to be warmer, drier, potential for drought to increase up there, potential for strong high pressure system to develop, may possibly even the heat dome environment out there. So let's watch out for that. It's worth noting, though, that precipitation is expected to be somewhat above normal for the U.S. West. So with those warmer than normal temperatures, above normal precipitation, we might not see drought assert itself quite as rapidly. Below normal precipitation running through parts of the central U.S. and then very stormy looking like for the U.S. Northeast and possible for the ocean environment, with that trough digging in and slamming that cold air into those warm ocean waters. So it looks a lot like potential for nor'easter type storms, possible thunderstorms as well. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Looking at the quantitative prediction forecast, boy, does it look stormy over the next 7 days for the U.S. Southeast, the Gulf Coast region, and the eastern U.S., and then the near offshore environment. We've got heavy precipitation predicted over the coming 7 days for this region, and it just speaks to me of storms and possible coastal storms as well. So we'll just have to keep an eye on the weather situation. As I said before, I'm going to pull up the Storm Prediction Center and look at our convective outlooks. This Storm Prediction Center providing information by NOAA, and let's look at the convective outlooks. All right, so the day one convective outlook shows that we have a potential for severe weather over Texas, central and eastern Texas, parts of extreme southwestern Oklahoma. So please pay attention to your severe weather statements out there in Texas, folks. And then getting into tomorrow, again, East Texas under the gun for severe weather, enhanced potential for a big chunk of East Texas. So again, pay attention. And then for Florida, coming into the picture for severe weather as well. So two notable locations tomorrow for severe weather potential, and then on day three, severe weather potential drops off a bit with most of the focus on Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama in the marginal range for supercell type thunderstorms and severe thunderstorm type events. All right, let's get into the forecast. So we do have that stalled front over the US South and East Gulf Coast regions and the Atlantic. This is going to spawn a storm system, which is expected to strengthen over Oklahoma and Texas tomorrow into Thursday, and then sweep down across the Gulf Coast region and the Southeast and then the mountains on Friday, transferring energy offshore by Friday afternoon and evening as a storm barrels through the U.S. East Coast with possible severe weather on Friday afternoon and evening. And then as we get late into the witching hour on Friday, early morning Saturday, coastal low develops off of the mid-Atlantic and then lingers for a little bit and then slips on offshore as a pretty powerful gale force system. And then once again behind it, we've got another storm drawing energy from the Gulf of Mexico, firing off a powerful front by Monday that sweeps on across the U.S. East and then offshore once again. And yet another strong low pressure system, this one moving up through the Northeast, but nonetheless looking pretty strong. And then another storm gathering by late next week in the Gulf of Mexico, translating energy just off the Outer Banks and generating another strong coastal low by early May. So it looks like storm after storm after storm predicted for the U.S. East Coast and the Outer Banks. We'll just have to keep a weather eye to things to see If things do get severe, hopefully they won't get too severe, but there's a lot of energy in the ocean system with those warmer than normal sea surface temperatures. Okay, getting down to the wave forecast right now, waves in the near offshore environment in the range of 3.7 feet. And this swell is oriented from, it's coming in from the east and it's heading west. So it's an east to west orientation, uh, lining up nicely with the beaches. And then for tomorrow, similar swell orientation, similar conditions, possible rising surf conditions for the southern beaches, Buxton, Frisco, places like that. Looks like Buxton might have some bigger waves tomorrow than the rest of the beaches, but generally 4 to 5 foot swell in the near offshore environment by Wednesday. And then into Thursday, similar situation as well. So it looks pretty good when today, tomorrow, and Thursday with solid 4 to 5 foot swell on every day, oriented out of the east, moving east to west. That's a good orientation for the Outer Banks. And then heading on into Friday, we do get that storm, that coastal low starting to develop, and winds starting off from the south and then whipping around to the northeast behind the storm. With those strong southerly winds coming in, we do expect that swell to kick up by midday in the range of about 8 feet. And then as we get into the day on Saturday, we get this swirl of a powerful coastal low and the near offshore waves in the range of about 10 feet. And getting out just offshore, we get some significant wave heights in the range of up to 18 feet. This rather far offshore, but just offshore in the Outer Banks, waves ranging from 8 to 9 feet, maybe a 10-footer here and there. So a very stormy day on Saturday. And that is our wave forecast for the next 5 days. Thank you for joining me for this session of the OBX Wave Report. And as I always do at the end of the OBX Wave Report, I would like to ask you guys to please do everything you can to help transition the world to clean energy, transition away from fossil fuels. Clean energy being wind, water, solar, and electric vehicle, these being the rapidly deployable clean energy sources. And one of the ways that you can help support the transition to clean energy is to help support ESGs, or investment funds that focus on environment, um, positive social aspects in investing, and positive governance investment that helps to support democracies around the world, real freedom and democracy around the world. So yeah, so if you're investing to support climate action, reduce pollution, if you're investing to support healthy and stable societies that are equal and diverse and fair and generous and truly free and loving. And if you are helping to support investments that support global democracies, then your good money is being thrown after good rather than having good money thrown after bad. So let's invest in the good stuff. And you know what? You can make money by investing in the good stuff. It's not a cynical zero-sum game where you have to throw good money after bad to make money. There are ways to make money and do good things, and ESGs provide one pathway for that. So yep, so that's one way you can act on climate, and it's one of the reasons why I wholeheartedly support the Democrats these days, because the GOP, they just, I don't know, they got their heads in the sand while the beach is flooding. Not a good place to be. In any case, thanks for joining me for this session of the OBX Wave Report, and I will be back with you guys shortly. Much love to you guys, and if you do get out there, I hope you guys shred it.